Hey there, welcome. This is Lotus, Art of Sacred Embodiment. Wanted to have a chat about sacred relationship, sacred partnership, and what I call the golden light. So when I talk about the golden light, what I'm referring to is there are some doors that open to us that shine a light that helps to open our heart. And then there are the doors that we're meant to actually walk through and move down that corridor. So in the journey of relationship and meeting people, right? Meeting people who come into our lives. And we're going to not really talk about just the karmic as much as maybe the more conscious relationships, but I want to talk about love, right? I want to talk about when our paths cross with that person, and we get that sense of everything opens up, right? We feel connected. We feel that sense of love. We feel loved. We feel seen. We love them. We feel like we see them. And then what happens when that doesn't actually pan out in the way that we thought that it was going to do, right? And this might mean that you come together with somebody for, a couple months or maybe even, I don't know how long, right? But shorter periods of time. And we come together with these souls, right? We automatically, I think a lot of the time, not everybody, but I think a lot of the time, there's this sense of when our hearts open to somebody, we get this feeling like, oh, okay, this is it. Because it's natural as relational beings that we are seeking, right, or longing or just sort of pulled towards another. And when we feel like it is, when we experience those feelings, it oftentimes can feel like that's the one, perhaps. Or this is meant to be, or, oh my gosh, this is long term. Maybe it is, but maybe sometimes it's just a door that opens where we come into contact with somebody who the resonance is so great there for a blink of an eye. And it's not necessarily meant to be even a relationship, right? A romantic relationship. But it's meant to reflect back to us who we really are, right? And the feelings and the chemistry, and because it opens our heart center, it's easy to automatically believe that this is where we belong. It's a coupling experience. When in essence, its purpose is just to help our heart center to open. And, so I have a friend who, a couple years ago, he had come into contact with somebody, and it was just for the short period of time, and it was beautiful, and it was intense, and the hearts opened, and then, it was thought that it was going to go somewhere, but then it all kind of just crumbled, right? It wasn't actually supposed to be that in the long term. But what it was, and what it showed him, was that, like, it was there to help open his heart, because the heart center hadn't been opened. And so there was just the right frequencies and resonance that allowed his heart center to open, to soften, to not feel guarded, to feel more inspiration and love in himself, for himself. All right? So I called this sort of the golden doorway. And the golden doorway is there to reflect back to us the love that we are, to show us who we truly are when our heart opens. This is one of the biggest powers of romantic relationship. Many relationships, but romantic relationship has the capacity to remind us and remember us back to a truer part of our nature, and reflect back to us the love that we are. We think in these moments, in these connections, that we're loving because of this person, when in essence it's our own love. It's our love. Anybody that we fall in love with is in essence showing us who we are. We are love. And it opens that door, right? And everything lights up. And life is lit up. But the lesson here is not necessarily to attach here. It's to go within and begin to recognize, whoa, I am this. I am this quality. I can open this up, cultivate this opening so that I can meet the world and my life from this open heart. I am a golden door. Now, does it mean, right, that we aren't meant to come into relationship, right? I think we are meant to come into relationship for the majority of us. That relationship is highly aligned with. But there are different motivations for coming into relationship, right? Sometimes we don't have that deep resonance, and we may not feel lit up inside with that love. And we might go in through that doorway, and most likely it's probably a beautiful doorway, and we certainly do experience some level of opening, but it may not be this doorway and corridor that holds, that greater aligned love. And I'm going to connect these dots here in a minute. So, but it's a doorway that serves a growth process, right? Or a period in our life where this is our alignment, this is our truth. And I do access love here, and I do hold love in this space. And it's serving maybe a common resonance, a common purpose. So, my ex-husband and I, for example, we came together, years ago now, 20 some years ago, we came together with this deep, deep connection for spirit and our spiritual path and our spiritual journey. And we had such a this beautiful kind of soul connection and deep, deep friendship. And it never really felt like romance for us. But it was a connection on a soul level that was so deeply spiritually aligned and transformative and perfect for exactly where we were at that time. And then as we grew and changed and evolved, we recognized that common purpose, everything that we needed to do together to support our evolution in that framework of relationship was complete, right? So we could say that contract in that form was complete, and we had walked down a beautiful, amazing corridor together, right? That was lit up and sweet and vital. And yet neither of us ever really had that deeper, like, whoa, shine. And I'm not talking about like the chemistry, right? I'm talking about this deeper, higher state of love. So it was perfect. And then there have been people, right? And we were able to reflect back to each other, and it helped us to know who we were and who we were together. And then there are those people that just resonate with our heart space, right? And there's just this natural opening. And we feel this deep connection and this deep love energy that flows effortlessly, and that's where everything lights up. Now, sometimes this is meant to walk through, and we'll know, because we'll know how circumstances play out and how things really resonate and levels of health, levels of healing that have been done, and how we're able to negotiate the relationships in karmic, kind of beyond the base karma relationship, more into the conscious relationship where there's still healing, there's still growth, transformation, funny, but there's a higher level, there's a next level connection there. And this can start to take us into the sacred partnership paradigm. And we walk through that door, but at this point, we're starting to recognize that I am responsible for the love that I hold. Thank you so much for reflecting this love to me and igniting me. And it's an honor to ignite your heart and your love and the essence of who you are. But as we travel into a conscious relationship paradigm, we begin to recognize that it isn't the other person's responsibility, right? Because relationship ultimately is to reflect the light back to us. I am love. This is who I am. I am both personal love and I can love, regardless of whether things are topsy-turvy or not. I'm learning how to keep my heart open in love. I'm learning how to recognize that I can stay open and vulnerable and choose love, even if the other person is, perhaps not happy with me, or is going through their own inner process. I can still choose to know the truth of who I am. I don't need this person to be giving me that from the outside anymore. Because now I've crossed this threshold, and I'm not saying that we do this perfectly all the time. And this is a this is a skill. This is a practice to keep in the open heart, in your own golden doorway, when in relationship, when walking this earthly plane. But it is a part of our evolution. And we also recognize that our partner, our beloved, can hold that space for us if we're going through something. And it doesn't mean, and I can take that time and energy to do my inner work, and they can hold that space without needing that validation from me, without needing, sort of like me to be affirming and confirming that everything's okay. There's a way that we learn to operate in this deeper, learning to become more sovereign and yet being interconnected in this. Learning to take responsibility for the golden doorway that lies within us, and recognizing that part of that corridor that we walk down is our own journey of accessing love, holding love, expanding love from the personal into a divine love, into an unconditional love. And this starts to take us up into divine union connection, divine union partnership. But it's an inner union first, right? So I start to recognize, oh, I am love. I can love in spite of. I can love and hold that space open just because. So a really great, kind of example of this is my partner before my ex-husband. A beautiful heart-opening connection, and a deeply healing relationship for both of us on learning to feel love and stay open to love, and deep levels of trust and radical honesty and all of those things that really created the foundation that was built on this deep heart opening. So so there was this period of time, and we never really had any fights or arguments. We would have discussions. Same with my ex-husband. We only had like 2 fights in, the 20-some years we were together. And so we had discussions, but we were coming up against this phase where he was having a hard time really just expressing anger. And I, we were working with how to create that safe place for him to be in touch with his anger and to express it. And, so we had set up, kind of these little practices and stuff and whatever. It's a whole different, I'm not going to segue through all that. But we had this one experience where we had gotten into, and he was getting better, right, at like feeling like it was okay for him to be angry, and it was okay for him to, even get really, really mad and yell, because that was something that he would have judgment about and felt bad or wrong about. So we had this one fight, and he was getting really frustrated with me, and it just like like it totally blew up into a full-on, he was just yelling. And I had so much, I don't want to say fun, but like I was so happy for him. Even though, he was mad at me and he was rightfully frustrated and angry at me, and I hadn't, it was like it was appropriate. And I just sat there while he went through this whole part, of expressing how frustrated he was, why he was angry, why, this pattern wasn't working for him. And I was just rejoicing silently inside, because what I wanted for him, my love for him, wanted him to be able to access all that he was, all that he needed to access for his healing. And I did not have to take it on. I didn't have to take it personal. I could take accountability and be responsible for whatever my part was, but it was not that I wasn't loved. It wasn't that I was being rejected. It wasn't that I was bad or wrong. I didn't have to feel guilty, and he didn't have to feel bad or wrong or guilty or ashamed for having a big emotion. So, so these are some of these phases when we're in conscious relationship, and then when we move into, the sacred partnership, where we're constantly evolving and refining what relationship is. What does it really mean? How do these things manifest? How do we embody the fullness of who we are? And first and foremost, from the wholeness, or from the developing, ongoing evolution of our wholeness. And then how do we utilize each relationship as a teaching, not as something bad or wrong or defective, or, with a lot of judgment. And sometimes that happens in the beginning of a healing stage, but then we can move on and go, wow, what a powerful, amazing, profound, beautiful experience that was, no matter how painful. Because we recognize that it's all for our learning, and then we take that, we alchemize it, and then we continue to move into our next developmental phases and stages. So, once we start really opening our heart and learning that it's safe to stay open, because when I know that my relationship with love is not due to somebody else, it's enhanced, it might be expanded, it might be enlivened more, it might become more joyful, more powerful, when two hearts that are just really aligned and that signature, comes together, and that corridor is walked down and through together, that is coming into that higher love state. But to get there, we also realize that we have to come home to that recognition. We have to allow ourselves that the risk, that it feels like the risk to open up no matter what. Because when we know that we are love, when I know that I am love, and I can live in love and be in love just within my own being and with my life, we are no longer dependent on somebody from outside of us. And we no longer manufacture or hook into emotional and behavior patterns that are entered into because we're disconnected from our own lovability. So I'm going to leave you with that piece of it, and I may piggyback on that. But I just wanted to, kind of share where we're going, the beauty of where we're going. But as we enter into these higher developmental stages, as we heal, part of this is really recognizing that we are given examples and shown reflections of who we are. Don't always mistake it that it is only from outside of us. It is showing us the truth. We are our own golden door. We have our own golden hallway. And when we know this, it makes our relationships more harmonious and beautiful and exciting, and ability to deepen, and our love becomes stronger because we already know it's inside of us. And then we cultivate it together, right? It's not like we're hitting perfection, but we have an awareness that then we can cultivate and co-create that golden, like a bigger golden doorway right in between us. And sometimes it's going to get a little dim, but we know we can spark it back up because we're self-sourcing from within the love that we are. All right. Blessings.